If you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television.
Sonny's dumb. Certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and it's nothing
Just
there.
go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there.
I mean, Pat, you're married. Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to some nefarious stuff. Let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures, and look at her track record. How many times does she have to go on in the past 2 months and look at the camera and do a legal apology for all the stuff that she said?
The morning the scandal broke, everything seemed routine. A fresh cup of coffee in hand, casually scrolling through the daily news, until one headline stopped the world in its tracks. The name Sunny Hostin flashed across the screen, but this time it wasn't about her sharp commentary on The View. No, this was something else, something darker, something scandalous. Her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, a respected orthopedic surgeon, wasn't making headlines for medical breakthroughs or charity work. Instead, his name was entangled in something far more sinister: insurance fraud, illegal kickbacks, and a massive RICO lawsuit. And when I say massive, I mean blockbuster level, involving a mind-blowing 180 defendants. That's not just a case, it's an entire web of corruption unraveling before our eyes. At the heart of the storm, Hostin orthopedics and sports medicine, the very practice Dr. Hostin built his reputation on. Now, instead of being praised for healing patients, he's being scrutinized for allegedly manipulating the system. The accusations paint a picture of financial deception on a grand scale: doctored invoices, phantom medical procedures, and an intricate network of payouts designed to milk insurance companies dry. If proven true, this isn't just an ethical breach, it's criminal. But let's hit pause for a second. Before we get lost in the legal maze, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, because trust me, this scandal is only getting started. Now, let's break it all down. The legal bombshell. For those unfamiliar with the term RICO, short for the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, was originally designed to take down the mafia. It's not your everyday fraud case. To be hit with a RICO lawsuit means authorities believe you were part of an organized criminal operation. This isn't just about one bad decision or a single fraudulent claim. This is about a pattern of corrupt activities working like a well-oiled machine. So, how does Dr. Hostin fit into this legal nightmare? Reports suggest his practice was deeply involved in a scheme that funneled millions through illegal channels. Allegations include overbilling insurance companies, fabricating medical reports, and taking kickbacks from other medical professionals and organizations. And here's where it gets even murkier. Dr. Hostin isn't alone in this mess. With 180 defendants named in the lawsuit, we're talking about a massive network of individuals and institutions potentially complicit in this fraudulent empire. Think of it like a domino effect. One piece falls and the entire operation crumbles. The real question is, who will be the first to flip? The public reactions are as expected. Social media has erupted. The news sent shockwaves across Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. Some fans of Sunny Hostin were quick to defend her, arguing that she had no involvement in her husband's alleged crimes. Others weren't so forgiving, questioning how someone so vocal about justice and integrity could possibly be unaware of what was happening in her own household. And let's not forget the legal consequences. If convicted, Dr. Hostin could face severe penalties, including massive fines and possible prison time. But what about Sunny? Could this scandal impact her career? Will networks distance themselves, or will she manage to rise above the chaos? What happens next? As investigations continue, one thing is certain: this case is far from over. More details will emerge, more names might be dragged into the spotlight, and most importantly, the truth will eventually come to light. Will Dr. Hostin fight back? Will there be a plea deal? Or will this case set a new precedent in medical fraud lawsuits? One thing's for sure, this isn't just another tabloid scandal. This is a Hollywood-sized legal thriller unfolding in real time. So buckle up because we're in for a wild ride. Stay tuned and remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next twist in this jaw-dropping case.
I agree with mostly everything that's been said. I mean, we know that, only about 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system. And, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
The RICO Act, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, was originally designed to take down organized crime. Think mobsters, gangsters, the kind of shadowy figures running illegal empires. But here's the plot twist. This time, it's not the mafia on trial, it's doctors, surgeons, medical practices. Imagine a courtroom drama that's less Goodfellas and more Grey's Anatomy. Except this episode comes with a fraud scandal so big it could shake the foundations of the healthcare system at the center of it all. Dr. Holland and his associates. According to the lawsuit, they weren't just saving lives, they were allegedly milking the system for every dollar they could. The accusations: receiving kickbacks for performing unnecessary surgeries, billing insurance companies for procedures that never even happened. Picture this. A patient lies on the operating table, unconscious, trusting their doctor to help them. But behind the scenes, it's less about saving lives and more about stacking cash. Insurance companies foot the bill while money moves like it's a high-stakes poker game in a backroom casino. Except this casino is a hospital, and it doesn't stop there. Reports suggest that some of these procedures were not just unnecessary, they were downright dangerous. Patients allegedly suffered complications, endured painful recoveries, and in some cases ended up in a worse condition than before. So what does this mean? Well, if these allegations hold up in court, we're looking at a historic case, one that could set a precedent for how medical fraud is prosecuted under RICO laws. For years, the healthcare system has been a fortress, protected by bureaucracy and legal loopholes. But this case, it's cracking the walls wide open, exposing a side of the industry that the public rarely sees. Doctors, hospitals, insurance companies, no one is untouchable anymore. The real question is, if these accusations are true, how deep does this medical mafia really go? And if doctors can be accused of organized crime, what does that say about the very system meant to protect us? Stay tuned, because this is just the beginning.
I want a citizen that has a policy. I mean, I'm not saying that Joe Rogan should be removed from Spotify. He's got 11 million listeners. He's got a $100 million, contract as of 2020. But I do think as the podcast platform, you have to have some sort of guidelines. How about a disclaimer on his podcast that says, this is misinformation? How about removing some of the podcasts that disseminate this misinformation?
They have.
And that's...
Here's where things take a dark turn. The lawsuit doesn't just raise concerns, it throws serious accusations at Dr. Hostin, alleging that he received financial kickbacks for recommending and performing arthroscopic surgeries. Now, on paper, these minimally invasive joint procedures seem completely legitimate, even beneficial. But according to the lawsuit, many of them were totally unnecessary. Think about that for a second. Patients walked into the clinic, trusting their doctor's expertise, believing they needed knee or shoulder surgeries. But what if they didn't? What if they were never actually in need of those procedures? What if this wasn't about medicine at all, but about money? If these allegations hold any truth, this isn't just medical malpractice. It's a cold, calculated betrayal. We're talking about a scandal that makes hospital dramas look like bedtime stories. Imagine waking up from surgery, feeling the pain, dealing with months of recovery, only to find out it was all for nothing. Not for your health, not for your well-being, but for someone else's financial gain. And that's where this story gets truly disturbing, because this isn't just about one doctor. If this kind of practice is happening here, how many other patients, in how many other hospitals, have been unknowingly caught in the same trap? How deep does this go? And more importantly, who's going to stop it?
It's always the people that always do the pointing, and it always comes back to them, all right? So when you said this is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York, you guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia case. Like the mafia one was number one. This one takes it over. So he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange for the kickback.
But here's the twist. On the other side of this battle stands American Transit Insurance Company, ATIC, the plaintiff. ATIC claims they've been duped out of millions, alleging that they were billed for surgeries that either never happened or were completely unnecessary. Imagine paying for a luxury steak dinner and getting a plate of cold, rubbery tofu instead. That's the level of deception they're accusing the defendants of. But hold on, insurance companies aren't exactly shining beacons of honesty either. ATIC itself has been dragged through the mud with accusations of underpaying doctors, denying legitimate claims, and exploiting every loophole in the book to avoid paying up. Some might say they've made an art form out of protecting their own bottom line, even if it means leaving patients and medical professionals high and dry. So now the real question emerges. Is Adam truly on a mission to expose a massive healthcare scam, revealing the dark underbelly of an industry riddled with fraud? Or is this just a desperate last-ditch effort by an insurance giant on the brink of financial collapse, scrambling to shift blame onto someone else? This case isn't just about who's right or wrong, it's a battle between two giants, both with questionable histories, fighting to control the narrative. And in the end, the biggest losers, the everyday people caught in the crossfire. So what's the truth? That's for the courts to decide. But one thing's for sure, this fight is far from over.
According to a new lawsuit obtained by Page Six, the orthopedic surgeon was one of 200 defendants named in one of the biggest racketeer influence and corrupt organization cases ever filed in New York. Emmanuel was accused of federal insurance fraud and, quote, getting kickbacks by performing surgery and billing a company that insured taxi companies and Uber and Lyft drivers.
Dr. Daniel Thwaites takes no prisoners. The courtroom was electric. Tension crackled in the air like a brewing storm. Dr. Daniel Thwaites, the no-nonsense lawyer with a reputation for tearing cases apart, stepped up to the podium. And he didn't hold back. With the precision of a seasoned prosecutor, Thwaites shredded the lawsuit to pieces, calling it nothing more than a desperate last-ditch attempt by a failing company to claw back its losses. His words were sharp, deliberate, his tone cold as steel. This lawsuit isn't about justice, it's about survival, he declared, locking eyes with the jury. ATIC is gasping for air, and this case, it's their final breath. But Thwaites wasn't just playing defense, he was flipping the script. ATIC, he argued, weren't the victims. They were the real villains in this story. A classic courtroom maneuver. When you're under attack, you turn the tables, and trust me, it worked. The jury leaned in. The judge adjusted his glasses. The tension? Unbearable. But the story doesn't end there. Enter Joe Rogan, the unfiltered trut. Just when you thought this saga couldn't get any more explosive, Joe Rogan stepped in, and you know what that means. Podcast king, media disruptor, unapologetically blunt. And Rogan, he came in swinging. Sitting back in his studio, mic hot and voice steady, he took aim at The View, and his shots landed hard. You know what's hilarious? He scoffed. These people act like they're moral authorities, but they're hypocrites of the highest order. he wasn't done, not even close. He ripped into co-host Sunny Hostin, reminding everyone of her past, a woman who once slandered others with ease, acting like she was the pinnacle of virtue. But here's the kicker. She likely knew about her husband's shady dealings the whole time. The hypocrisy? Blinding. And then, with the precision of a sniper, Rogan took his final shot. If you averaged out the IQ of the View hosts, you might still struggle to hit triple digits. Boom. Mic drop. What happens next? The courtroom battle rages on. The media firestorm is unstoppable. And in the center of it all, a lawsuit that might change everything. Will Attic crumble under the weight of its own hypocrisy? Will Daniel Thwaites land the final blow? And will Joe Rogan keep exposing the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it gets? One thing's for sure, this story is far from over.
I saw you on The View.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been overwhelming my past couple days. So I just went in there, did my thing. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who Sunny Hostin was. I actually still really don't know. So I wasn't expecting necessarily for her to kind of try to ambush me in that way and attack my character in that way.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean,
yeah.
it is a rabies-infested henhouse.
Dr. Houston's world is crumbling, and the courtroom is now his battlefield. While he fights to salvage his reputation, the one person everyone expected to speak, his wife Sunny, has been uncharacteristically silent. Normally, Sunny is the kind to charge headfirst into controversy, tackling it with sharp words and unwavering confidence on The View. But now, nothing. No statements, no defenses, just radio silence. This has left fans and critics alike speculating. Is she standing by her husband behind closed doors, strategizing her next move? Or is she quietly inching away, trying to shield her own career from the fallout? Some believe she's waiting for legal counsel before making any public statements. Others suspect she's intentionally staying out of the spotlight to avoid becoming the next target. Whatever the reason, her silence is deafening. And in the court of public opinion, sometimes saying nothing says everything. But here's where the real shocker comes in. This case isn't just about Dr. Houston. He's merely one piece of a much larger puzzle. In total, 180 defendants have been named in this lawsuit, including other doctors, medical practices, and even entire hospitals. If the allegations prove true, we could be looking at one of the most extensive medical fraud scandals in recent history. An intricate web of corruption, a system riddled with loopholes, and millions, perhaps even billions of dollars siphoned from the healthcare industry. Patients unknowingly caught in a scheme, trusting professionals who may have been more focused on profits than their well-being. If the courts uncover solid evidence, this could unravel an entire network of deceit, forcing a reckoning in the medical world. And while Dr. Houston braces for impact, all eyes remain on Sunny. Will she finally break her silence? Or will her refusal to speak become the loudest statement of all? One thing is certain, this story is far from over.
Her husband accused of committing federal insurance fraud in a lawsuit, okay? Now, let's read this. Rob, is this a video?
Well, I have this. I'll show you this about.
Let me just read this and I'll come to you. So, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sunny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases. Wow. Hostin's attorney, Daniel Thwaites, denies the allegations, calling the lawsuit a meritless attempt by a near-bankrupt insurance carrier to intimidate doctors and restrict healthcare benefits. The case involves claims that Hostin performs unnecessary surgeries on patients after minor accidents without exploring less invasive treatments, with American Transit citing New York's 1974 no-fault law as contributing to widespread insurance fraud.
The perfect heist when profits trump patience. Imagine a high-stakes heist, the kind you'd see in a blockbuster movie. But instead of masked criminals cracking open bank vaults, the real culprits wear suits and ties, working behind the polished glass doors of insurance companies and hospitals. Their loot, not cash or gold, it's something far more insidious. They're siphoning millions from insurance premiums, turning the healthcare system into their personal playground for profit. But this isn't just a story about fraud. It's about something far bigger. A question that cuts deep. How much trust do we really have in the healthcare system? When the people sworn to protect our health prioritize money over lives, the entire foundation starts to crack. Patients walk into hospitals hoping for care, but leave with empty wallets and broken trust. It's a system where profits matter more than people, and patient well-being is just another line item on a balance sheet. And right at the center of this storm is Dr. Hostin, a man accused of orchestrating one of the most elaborate insurance frauds in recent history. Millions of dollars, thousands of claims, and one burning question. Is he the mastermind of a medical scam, or just a scapegoat in a much bigger game? But wait, there's another twist. If ADC, the insurance giant leading this charge, is using this lawsuit as a distraction from their own financial mess, then this case isn't just about one corrupt doctor. It's about an entire system rigged against the very people it's supposed to serve. A battle in the courtroom. With the trial approaching, both sides are preparing for war. The prosecution is stacking up evidence, preparing to expose a network of fraudulent claims, while the defense is ready to dismantle every accusation, piece by piece. The scandal is far from over. So what happens next? Well, that's the real drama. With every new revelation, this case is becoming more than just a legal battle. It's a reckoning. And whether Dr. Hostin is guilty or not, the real question is, will anything change? Or will the system continue to operate in the shadows, untouched and unstoppable? One thing's for sure, this scandal is far from over. With every new twist, we'll be right here, popcorn in hand, watching as it all unfolds like the courtroom thriller it's destined to be. If you enjoyed today's deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next shocking update. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.